Okay, so this shit was cool, by the way. They talk about Roman cancel. I like the description. They're like, as the name implies, a Roman cancel allows you to cancel your character's move. But how does it imply that? Because they never actually say why is it Roman cancel. Good. Yeah, but I always thought it's funny, like, yeah, as the name implies, but who's the fuck's Roman? You're canceling the Romans? Okay. So the effects of Roman cancels, so they actually talk about it this time. So a shockwave comes out, we know this. It slows down your opponent if they're in the circle. The reason why this matters is because in Exerd, when you RC, the entire screen slows down. And one of the biggest complaints about Exerd is that the game, you get taken out of the game a lot by YRC. By RC and YRC, especially YRC. So the shockwave thing, the radius on the slowdown is actually pretty big brain, I would say. Because if they're outside the range of it, then... Because generally, like... So in Exerd, a lot of characters have... what's the best way to describe it? Like a just do it YRC. That's probably the best way. A lot of characters have like just do it YRC. So like Kai has stun edge YRC, Venom has stinger YRC. A lot of characters have moves like that. S-Disc YRC is actually not just do it right YRC, because you can't, if they're full screen, you do S-Disc YRC, you're wasting your YRC, right? When you do stun edge full screen, what I mean by just do it is like you could be full screen as Venom and just do stinger YRC, and the defender has to do something. S-Disc YRC, you have to use it. It's just as bullshit as the others, but you have to use it like in a good spot. Like they have to be close to you, basically, to use it well. If you use it full screen, like nothing happens. If you use it even mid screen, nothing really happens. You're just throwing your meter away. So I think this thing is really clever. So that's kind of why the game initially to me felt like a really good speed, because there's no just do it YRC. The thing about FRC is that of course the game doesn't slow down at all, so the shit's just fast fuck. Okay, so they have this here. But we already know this, right? Oh, also the frame rate is fucking awesome. Let's make it not... Let's make it less pretty. They have 1440p. Let's do 720p. It still looks good. So we knew this. If they float, you get to do whatever you want. Yeah, also they keep using the fucking vocals, so we knew all this stuff, though. So you slow them down if they're not in hit stun, and if they are in hit stun, they slowly, like, float. Right? So they show you some more shit that you could do here. They should have this before the beta. Now, that shit is cool, but I would really like it if it costs 25 meter and not 50. Because that is 50 meter you're using. Also, that thing that they did is probably... I mean, I don't know. We don't know. We can't say yet, because we haven't played the game that much. When used before an attack hits or as it ends, you can cancel. So they have, like, the PRC, too. So this is just like Exerd. This is PRC. PRC should always be 50, by the way. Yeah, I definitely think one of the things they need to do is add 25 meter options. When activated while blocking an attack, the shockwave will push the opponent back. So this is like your guard cancel. That's what I'm saying too, by the way. What you said, Scargos, that's how I feel. This is your guard cancel. This is nice. So on the... This is... nice and like meh at the same time. Why? So one thing about that is that it homogenizes defense a little bit, which is a good and bad thing. Good in that like a lot of, if there is a situation that guard cancel would escape, then everybody could do it, which is nice. The downside is of course it takes away from the character personalities a little bit. Like there's some characters who have like take Axel. Axel has a really fucking fast dead angle in Exerd, but you can low profile it. So like you would have to build a string to low profile the dead angle, so there's like a guessing game there. Or like Zato, if he counter hits you with his dead angle, he gets a fucking hard knockdown into a setup. But it has to counter hit, and his is slower than other characters. So when he has 50 meter, you try to be wary of that, and you make your strings with jabs and stuff so he can't dead angle you, but that also gives him more opportunities to use FD to push. You know, there's implications because everyone has a different dead angle. Another classic one is Milia's old dead angle used to fucking knock you down in front of her, and she could set up disc. Now she just kind of hits you full screen, you know. And I think hers is kind of easy low profile too. So it's like a give and take kind of thing. How you feel about it. And I'm kind of in the middle too. Like, it is nice. So here's another example, right? Like Milia had a way to technically OS everyone's guard cancel, but it was harder on some characters than others because some characters just had bigger dead angles, so it made the OS harder to do. And you couldn't do like the easy one; you had to do like a really hard one. But as opposed to like, if there's a way to do that in a strong way in this game, that means it works on everybody immediately. Like, you don't have to check by character. It's just like, oh, it works the same on everybody. So it just depends on how you feel, you know. I think overall it's kinda good that it's universal, but it does take away a little bit of flavor on both ends, right? There's also the argument of like how much of the game should be locked behind system like knowledge of the game. But that's a whole other discussion, right? So then they talk about more RC stuff. Okay, so they talk about the clock. They talk about the how to dash, right? So I don't know why what that shows, actually, why they showed it like that. That was sick, but that costs 50. That, again, all these cost 50. If it costs 25, it might be a little cursed though. That was cute too. He has that in Exord. Literally, I think they're just showing like, cause he's just doing IED. I don't know what this is supposed to hit. It's not like mix. It's just like slowing them down. You know. And this is the fast RC that was found too. They tell you about the fast RC. The fast RC is you special cancel your RC, essentially. So you do RC special cancel RC, and you get stuff. I think when we get our hands on a game, there'll be more shit that people figure out. Okay, so we've seen all this. Okay, so he just talked about RC, which is really nice. This thing is the question part. We'd like to answer some of the comments and questions we received in response to Volume 1 of the Developer's Backyard. They have Akira and Daisuke Ishiwatari. I believe that the UI moving as the health bar decreases is connected with the idea of decreasing the eye movement required to check each gauge you mentioned last time. What is the idea behind this? So they basically mentioned that their goal is to make it so that when you check stuff, you don't have to move your eyes too much. But it doesn't feel that natural. The argument that I heard too was that this change was in arcades, was for arcades, thinking of arcades in mind because of how large the screens are. But the burst moving was pretty counterintuitive. I actually, looking at this again, they don't mention the wrist gauge, which is fucking invisible. They need to make that more visible, personally. But we'll see what they do about this. No, UI is the user interface. The user interface. In the previous interview, you mentioned that you want to create a greater degree of freedom combos than previous games. However, in the closed beta, using the same move multiple times was extremely simple and powerful, so it seemed like everyone was using the same combos. I feel like this is a departure from your intent. How do you tend to correct this? This is a pretty good question. By itself, the existence of combos, including the same move more than once, is not against our developmental intent. We really want to remove the concept, for example, that move A only combos into move B, but there was no advantage to using complicated combos over simple combos. And one thing they discovered in the test that only one combo route left an impression. There wasn't enough to inspire players to experiment. They don't have an idea of what to do about this yet. And that's the thing about this game. If you played the beta like a lot, so people would talk about combos. And as a side note, some, not all, but some combo monsters have small brains. And they're like, this game has no combos. But this game technically, basically once you launch them, everything combos into everything in the beta, right? But the real issue was that everything combos into everything, so that the best thing that you could do is just like big damage move as many times as possible, right? The thing that I thought that was a really interesting point was that they want to remove the concept that move A only combos to move B. I find that pretty interesting that they want to do that. I wonder if that's a thing they're thinking, because take a character like Trunks, for example, right? Remember what I said yesterday about him as Anchor? Like, it's hard to hit confirm 5S, it's hard to hit confirm CTF. Of course, it's like, you know, whatever, but it's like they don't want that, I guess, or they don't want like, I guess a better example is like how, let's say mid-screen with Trunks, you could do 2M light flip JS, but the super dash won't connect, so there's not really reason to do it. But it's like they don't want you to have the thought that I can't connect this move. It kind of feels like Smash in one way. But I'm glad that they're honest and they said like they just don't know what to do about this yet. And I think it's okay. Oh, also we got move Shantae. Shantae, what are you doing? What are you doing, girl? You gotta move over here. Yeah. Why don't you get over there? Okay. I'm glad they just kept, and I think this is okay. So there's some people that I talked to yesterday that were mad that they didn't have an answer, but it's like I said, they're basically building a new game, and there's the most important core GG element is in this game. The concept of, you know, well, how you can't hit confirm your far pokes off ground game, so there's like an interactive ground game, and they address another thing that I think is really shitty about the game. Not here. I was gonna talk about jump-ins. They talk about jump-ins, but I thought it was the next question. I would like to know your intentions behind the redesigns of this game. I'd also like to know if there's a theme behind the design of Strive. I also would like to know why there's so many vocal themes, and also are the lyrics character dependent. We're gonna just skip that. I don't think someone would write it like that in English. I think that's just translation. They want to make something new, not XX. They want to make something new. So the new designs are so that you know that it's new. Yo, Ragna DBSZ, thanks so much for the follow. As far as the direction behind the character designs, my goal is to make simpler designs that are easy for player to remember. Is a kind of funny thing to say, because some of the characters, I think it's like 50-50. You know, like, I guess Mei technically is like a cleaner, simpler design, but Faust is like, I guess Faust is a cleaner design too. Axel basically looks the same. Zato basically looks the same. Milia, I think she has more details on her than she did before. I think they keep adding shit to Milia's design. Milia used to be like top, no legs, like no pants, basically. Yeah, it feels like they're giving and taking away. Giving and taking away, I guess. Because Soul kind of looks the same. Kai, if someone said Kai looks simpler, like looks simpler, I would agree, right? I think a couple of characters look simpler. Like Mei looks visually simpler, but some characters look like they have more shit on them, right? The vocals are sleep. As long as they give me an option to have instrumentals and no vocals, I'm cool, right? I'm curious about these new iterations of GG characters and their moves. Whilst, who translated this? While some characters like Soul and Potemkin have movesets very similar to their previous incarnations, some characters like Chip, Axel, and Mei have lost iconic tools and have been very much redefined as characters. Respectively, I'm talking about the loss of Chip's teleport, the loss of Axel's defensive specials like Benten, Parry, Rai, and the loss of Mei's ability to set up Mr. Dolphin to attack later. How are you striving? Nice James Chen pun in there. Nice James Chen pun. Also, thanks for the follow, Gunsmoke Hero. How are you striving to find a balance between something totally new and something recognizable in regards to character playstyles? And furthermore, can you offer insight to why those moves and others had to be removed? Okay. This is a good question. We aren't using previous tiles as a base when thinking about changing characters' moves. We are redefining each character from the ground up in this new game. Daisuke is really about this is a new game, so that's why. I like Akira's answer much better, even though Daisuke's answer is also a technically good answer. So the concepts from characters before form the basis, and they do that from there. Yo, Doke, thank you so much for the 15 months, bro. Thank you so much. At the very least, they aren't developing them with the idea of removing things from previous games. So, this thing he says after is pretty interesting because I talk about Guilty Gear characters like this now, right? Because Guilty Gear character, there's a lot of like, because XX and shit, or XX to Xrd, since that's all basically the same shell of game. There's a lot of like macro thoughts about the game, and they are looking at these characters from that as well, right? So Chip, he's very fast, but special moves are risky. I wouldn't use these descriptions to describe the characters in a previous version of the game. Like, you would not describe Chip like this. This sentence does not describe Chip in Xrd, right? In Xrd, I would probably say extremely fast, extremely safe, extremely aggressive character, but has no life, so essentially a glass cannon. Axel excels at long range, but heavily disadvantaged at close range, basically at the same as Xrd. Mei, she has very simple ways to get big damage, but doesn't have any tricks. She has changed kind of multiple times, because in Xrd, she actually does have a lot of tricks. You don't have to use them. Xrd Mei is the best version of Mei, dude. As a side note. Mei is the best version of Mei. But for the most part, Mei, at a glance, it's supposed to be like a simple character that does a lot of damage, but you know, she's just really straightforward, right? Yeah, Xrd Mei is definitely the standout out of all the Mei versions. So you could basically explain all the characters in GG that way somehow. So it's interesting, like how they're thinking about the characters to me right now. Can you guys talk about the new air dash? Before, you've mentioned this would attempt to add depth and address the issues of old air dashes requiring too much practice to react to. This goal may have been accomplished with how poor anti-airs seem to be in the relation to the strength of jump-ins and how many options the new air dash creates. The situation still seems skewed heavily towards aggression in the air, but now with no real regards for neutral interactions and no strong way to punish this kind of play. Additionally, the feel of the air dash, it just isn't as clean as the old one. Maybe it's more complex, but do you think it's worth the impact to game flow and feel? Yeah, Super Mario Sunshine. This is the Super Mario Sunshine question. I basically wrote this question. Besides the part, yeah, so air dashing required too much practice to react, but like that's okay. That's okay though. Like, I mean, I get what they're going for with the new air dash. It does feel like shit. And the anti-airs were trash, and that was the moment when I was playing with like Flux and SKD, and I was like, this game kind of sucks ass, dude. It was like day 3. I was like, this game kind of sucks. So Akira talks about it. The balance between jump-ins and grounded anti-airs in the beta test, we noticed this problem. Specifically, jump-in attacks have relatively small hurtboxes compared to their hitboxes, making it common for jump-ins to beat out anti-airs. We hadn't put enough work in this aspect at the time of the test. We were planning to extend the hurtbox to the aerial attack downwards. After considering the pros and cons between intuitive feels of the old air dash and the new mechanics in the game, we decided the current new direction would create something more interesting than the prior version. We are proceeding with development in that direction. So they're doubling. They're like, this is the air dash. Hold that shit. Which definitely feels bad, man. Anti-airs being good feels good, man. Though. But the only thing that's question mark about the discussion about the jump-ins versus the anti-airs, and I forget, by the way, because it's been a while, I didn't write it down. I forgot if I believe it was a hitbox-hurtbox interaction and not attribute system. They could just put the attribute system in the game, but that would really make it step away from GG. Like that'd be a pretty big step away from GG if they went that route. And what I mean by attribute systems, like, you know, Dragon Ball has it. 2H's always beat head, aka jump in, stuff like that. How moves, specifically moves beat Ki Blast, stuff like that. Those things have an attribute assigned to it, and then there are moves that just beat those things. I believe it was Hitbox, Hurtbox, so it must have generally been the fucking jump-ins were just OD huge. And maybe the application of the invincibility on these anti-airs were not evenly set. The other thing too is that out of the characters, so like Soul doesn't have a traditional like 6P that uses as an anti-air. Mei 6P you don't really use as an anti-air either. Kai has a 6P that you would use as an anti-air, but as we saw, it was hard as fuck to use. Faust's anti-air used to get smoked in the beta too. So we'll see how this goes. In addition, you still being able to block without FD in the air is still cap. I think so too, but you get an advent. The thing about anti-airing is like, if I get a big advantage situation, because first of all, you do a shit ton of risk, right? You build a shit ton of risk when they block it. So if I get like a big advantage situation, then it's okay. I'll take it. Of course, just hitting you would be the best, but like if it was like 0, like if you anti-aired them and they blocked and it was just like neutral situation, then I'd be like, this is cap too. So as the person who does the anti-air successfully should get a reward for doing it. Like straight up. Straight up. The Super Mario Sunshine air dashes suck ass, but between Milia and Faust, I have a pretty decent idea that not everyone will have the sludge air dash, so that's just a thing. Yeah, May had vertical dolphin. That's what I was using, was vert dolphin. In the closed beta of Guilty Gear Strive, the wall break mechanic was an interesting addition. I quite like the idea of rewarding the attacking player with meter while giving the losing opponent another chance by resetting neutral. However, the increased tension was often considered not worth it by players, so they would try to not cause a wall break by not finishing their combo or not using certain moves. Are you considering changing the way wall break works in order to prevent this behavior, or perhaps changing the reward upon a wall break? So, a human did not write this question, by the way, because basically everybody hates the wall break. Almost everybody hates the wall break mechanic. And almost everybody hates that you reset to neutral when you break the wall. So I don't think a human wrote this. I think someone at the office wrote this question. Yeah, Milia's looked really fast for air dash. I think someone at the office wrote this question. Let's see what they had to say. To be completely honest, as of the beta test, we believe there is greater merit to breaking the wall rather than staying in the corner. Of course, we will continue playtesting, taking your feedback into consideration, adjusting the balance before release. However, we do not intend to completely deny the choice to not break the wall. I feel like it's one element of freedom and mischief in the good sense. Okay. This is a link to saying how they feel like a big aspect of Guilty Gear is about mischief, you know, being tricky with your options and stuff like that. So, but you can chat about the wall break a little bit. They want to keep the wall break, of course. That's a feature. Okay, we should just be cool with it. Now the thing is, and I'm surprised they didn't mention it, but I've been mentioning it a lot, that between how fast you build meter in this game, if you break the wall, then you get a hard knockdown anyway. But it also would be nice to choose to not break the wall sometimes and have it actually be a choice, because for example, you might not always have meter, right? So there is a situation where you would want to not break the wall and keep your offense, and then maybe your next hit you would break the wall because you could break it with a super, right? This is something we got to see more a little bit. It's either the wall needs more health, or there needs to be some moves that, like, let's say, because it's the typical thing about people who do Oki, right? There's the classic discussion when you're building combos for your character is max damage versus Oki. Sometimes you have to sacrifice damage to do Oki, but the overall damage you would do is more, because since you get good Oki, you get to hit them again. So like if your combo that doesn't need to Oki but is max damage is 5,000 damage, but your combo that does need to Oki does 4,000 damage, but each time you do the combo, you get 4,000 damage. It's obviously better to sacrifice the 1,000 damage to do 4,000 damage again, and to do 5,000 damage and then not have another chance to do 5,000 damage, right? So, an example of this would be there should be moves in your moveset that don't do damage to the wall, but do less damage. So you can make the choice to specifically not break the wall and keep the corner, as opposed to, hey, I want to break the wall with super because I want to break the wall with super, so I get the better meter gain, positive meter gain, and I get the knockdown situation. So I use the super to break the wall, and now, yeah, I don't have meter right now because I spent 50, but my overall meter gain is higher, and I get offense. But we'll see what they do. Just a thought. What is the most difficult aspect in developing this game? Creating a... Daisuke is a fucking robot. He's like, we just want to make something new. Please. Please let me make a new game. Please, can I make a new game? That's Daisuke right now. Please, please, people, can I make a new game? Please, please. Imagine, actually... first of all, I'm going to post this on YouTube, but... Imagine being him, and you're like, man, I can't wait to make a new game. And then people are like, just make the same game again. That must hurt as like a creative person, making a new game. Sometimes, and people are telling you not to. I say let the man take a risk, bro. Let him do it. If the game sucks, the game sucks. They can fix it. Alright. Any questions, even though I don't work for Arxis?